Hey everyone, happy Sunday night, soul time. So I am back with more this week on the conversation around burnout and overwhelm. I was amazed. I don't think we've ever had such a high open rate as we did last week on the topic. So I know it's one and important to continue. Now it's just the uncertainty again around coronavirus. And again, there's just such a deep sense of overwhelm. And look, I think in part is for many, and everyone had different circumstances, situations, but for many were working from home last year. And the kind of return to normal, many of us are learning like it would just, that muscle's gone, like we're not able to go in and do things the way we used to, because quite frankly, the way that we were doing it before just wasn't healthy. And look, we're just craving more of a compassionate way to live, and to be here, a more compassionate human experience. And for many of you that know my story and know the journey I've taken, for me, a lot of the corporate environment just did not serve the soul, and very much on the level of the burnout, the pace, the working. For me, I had some real problems there, emotional health, all the kind of mental health problems, all of it. And much of it from keeping a pace that, many of us are just not meant to keep, not enough me time, not enough taking care of myself. And I think in many ways, and this is why the conversation I want to have tonight, is that the paradigm is broken. So a lot of you were trying to cope in a paradigm that just doesn't serve. And you're seeing a lot of companies reinventing it and keeping work at home and doing other things, but there's still a lot of work to do. So it's like, you're not crazy. You're trying to succeed and thrive in a paradigm that's kind of unthrivable, I remember at the height of a lot of my discomfort around this and a lot of my pain around this, and just, I can be fairly kind of philosophical and get a bit esoteric. And I just remember going like, God, why is this the human experience we're choosing to have? Like, I don't think this is what we were meant to do, to just constantly, fire drill constantly. Right. And so a lot of that does come down to choice. And we talked a bit about that last week. But I want to give you, and I have 3 more things for you to consider, practices for how you navigate the overwhelm and burnout that you're feeling. And all the practices last week, I think are great. And if you can start employing any of those, you're going to see some change. But I wanted to go a little deeper with you. And that's why the first thing I have written here is don't cope, but advocate. I think in many ways, the paradigm needs to shift. And enough people are advocating for themselves and that this isn't working, companies will be forced to shift. We're already seeing some of that, particularly with more, flexible work schedules and what have you, right? But whether you're advocating for your team or yourself, I really recommend to as much as you're comfortable in what the situation is, but stop trying to cope within something that just is kind of uncopable. And instead, perhaps challenge yourself to have some tough conversations, to advocate more for yourself, for your team, that this isn't working, and start small. And if you're at a company that's not offering more flexible hours or work, advocate for the importance of that. If your company doesn't have a policy like many do in Europe, where it's kind of no email after a certain hour, that might be something to advocate for. But at the end of the day, you've got to advocate for your needs, right? Like, nobody is going to do for you what you can do for you. Like, you are responsible for yourself. So waiting around for someone to do it for you isn't going to work. You've got to speak up and speak your truth. And hopefully you work in an environment where that's possible. And if not, you might want to consider, there are a lot of great companies out there that are open and kind of woke to these conversations. You might want to explore finding one of those. But again, whatever it means to stop trying to, cope and instead advocate, and you start small, that's what I'd really encourage you to do. Look, and if enough of us start advocating that something's got to give here and change, you might see the change immediately, probably no. But do we want our kids working in this kind of environment in 10 years from now, right? So there's things to think about there. And again, with everything I recommend, like, do what feels right for you. and if it doesn't, you don't feel called to do this, then listen to that, right? There's no right or wrong here. So kind of just take what resonates and leave the rest behind. But yeah, just don't be afraid to speak up for what you need. That's really what this is about. Don't be afraid to speak up and communicate vulnerably, honestly, transparently about what you need to thrive. Okay. And whether that's at work, right? Or that's at home or with your partner, right? You've got to speak up for your needs, And so maybe the more simpler way to say this one, and maybe not advocate, but is just speak up for what you need. Don't be afraid to speak up for what you need. Honor what you need by speaking up for it. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is I really recommend, we talked a bit about this last week, but I'd go a little step further, like invite the universe in to help you with this each day. Invite in from an intention standpoint, like please help me have more balance in my life. Please help me find a way to create more space, because there's real psychological benefits to it, but you trying to manage and fix this all on your own is really part of the problem, right? Like you can't solve for balance and all this on your own. And again, we talked about it this last week, but I really urge you on a fundamental level, like surrender this to the universe. I can't live this way anymore. I can't continue at this pace. Please show me the way. Please show me how to create more space in my life. Please show me maybe perhaps a new decision I need to make for my life, but with the pure-hearted intention to have more well-being, balance, serenity, and peace in your life. If you bring that into a fervent intention, prayer, asking universe, whatever speaks to you each day, I promise you something will shift, but you've got to invite it in. Okay, so that's number two. And number three is, and we had this like the 15-minute no, but what I want to remind you too is some me time is better than no me time, right? So don't opt yourself out of any me time because you can't find an hour. Who has an hour, right? Do you have 5 minutes? Like I said, the breath work that we introduced last week. Do you have 5 minutes for the breath work or something else? Or 5 minutes to just sit quiet and really like feel yourself being with you, a 10-minute walk around the block, whatever it is. But just remember, some me time is better than no me time. So take the small moments. So again, just to recap, to really help you, I really want to help you with the overwhelm and everything you're feeling. I know I am not in it right now, but I have so been in it. And it's why I actually made some really significant changes in my life. And I know how it feels to be in it. And I don't want anyone to be there because it's not a good feeling, and it doesn't serve us mentally, emotionally, or physically on any level, health-wise. So again, don't just try to cope, advocate, a better way, speak up for what you need. Don't just have the courageous conversations. Okay. Number two, invite in intention, heartfelt intention, ask to have this shift for you, the sense of overwhelm, the sense of burnout, and be open to receiving the messages and suggestions that come in. And number three, some me time is better than no me time. So that's it. Next week is celebrating Christmas for those who celebrate. So there won't be a Sunday night soul time, but I'm here if you need anything. If you have any topics you'd like to cover, just send me a quick email and let me know. Anyway, I'm just wishing you all the best. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Thank you so much for being a Sunday night soul time participant. And as you notice, like we do have new memberships opening in February for the Women's Purpose community. That's a great way to make some me time and to work on all this stuff and to work on making shifts in your life. So if you're feeling called to make a shift in your life, I really suggest you contact me about becoming a member next year. Okay, that's it. Bye for now.